Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah, we're back at it again. Welcome. Let's kind of go through a little bit of business beforehand. So don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that kind of stuff. I'm John Norgrove. This is Julie Norgrove. We do this Witchy podcast like every week. We got full episodes every other week, and then on the off weeks, it's pub chat.
Yeah.
Where we kind of answer questions or talk about topics that y'all have brought up or other people have brought up. So you can always message us, or send us a thing send us a meme on Instagram, and we might talk about that meme. So check the rest of those out. The podcast can be found anywhere where podcasts are normally found, as well as on YouTube if you want to look at our faces. And if you're already looking at our faces, what's up?
Hello.
Yeah, all of that stuff out of the way, I think we should just get right into this one. What are we talking about this week?
Well, this is a deep dive episode, so we're going to be talking pretty in-depth about a specific thing, and that thing is color magic.
What are we talking about? Eight foot section of the pool, not supposed to dive unless you know what you're doing?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah? Talking a 3 foot section of the pool, don't dive into that.
Yeah,
not even with a water cop. Lifeguard, water cop.
Oh.
Water cops.
You said water cop, and I thought Baywatch.
I mean, they
are
just
also lifeguards.
No.
Yeah.
They're not also lifeguards. They're literally just lifeguards. They should not be solving crimes. In fact, in the Baywatch movie, they expressly make it clear that it's absurd that these lifeguards are solving drug crimes.
Yeah,
so
that is correct.
Water police.
Yeah, so anyway, today we are talking about color magic, or the magic of color.
I don't know that the magic of color makes sense.
Not really, no. I was just trying to make it sound a little fancier. We're talking about color magic, using color in
wizardry.
Magic. Hue wizardry.
Yeah.
Wizardry? Nope, I don't like that either. All right. So, moving along. Using
pigment sorcery.
Sorcepig?
Pigmorcery.
Pigmorcery. I don't like
Still
that either.
Bad.
Still
okay,
bad.
What would you call this?
Yeah, so using color for magical endeavors and even healing has been around for like thousands of years.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we can see in color, so it's pretty important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is...
Who'd have thunk?
This is yet another one of those episodes where I found myself tumbling down the rabbit hole of things,
historical facts, scientific papers, the deep ocean of pseudoscience, and what is that? Conspiracy theories. Ooh, girl.
Yeah.
Pseudoscientists love saying color's got some sort of property about some stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good pseudoscience.
Well, it turns out that some colors actually do.
Well, I mean,
that,
sure, yeah,
but,
of course, right? Because like a wavelength of light is a specific thing.
We can't really entirely call it pseudoscience.
No.
It
depends on specifically what topic you're talking about.
That's true,
right?
Yeah.
Like, there's like the actual science of a medicine. Right?
Yes.
And then there's the pseudoscience of this medicine being able to cure a thing that, in fact, it does not.
Well,
and if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. A lot of pseudoscientists out there saying that they know what the doctors don't know, which is fucking bonkers.
So we're actually going to be talking about that sort of first. So first, in order to talk about color magic, we're going to talk about chromotherapy, which is sometimes called vibrational healing, because colors are like a vibration. Yeah.
Was that a question?
No, I said it and I was like, yeah, that checks out. That works enough.
I mean...
The scientist in you is already...
Kinda, not really, man. I mean, okay, so, like... Light is a particle and a wave.
Yeah.
And insofar as it is a particle and a wave, the frequency of that wave particle is what we perceive as color. So light, or like radiant energy, for an abundant lack of better words, like electromagnetic radiant energy, is like a pretty broad spectrum of energies, and color, as we perceive it, color vision is like the tiniest little bit of it in the middle there.
Yeah.
As well as, and like most things on Earth see color in some various way as we do, although there are creatures that can see like further into the ultraviolet spectrum and such like that. So, like, you could kind of say it's a vibration.
I didn't make it up, man. It's called vibrational healing, and I mean,
see, when I hear vibrational healing, I'm thinking of them singing bowls.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Also called vibrational healing. Yeah, and also color therapy, chromotherapy is oftentimes combined with sound therapy.
Yeah.
So you know, so it's a whole mess. So using colors, usually in the form of colored light being shown on certain parts of the body, or infusing water, is like the most common way that you see vibrational healing chromotherapy these days. Sometimes used for colors that it's also sometimes used for like only things that you see, as opposed to things being projected on you or water being infused. Is like using colored glasses, which we are both wearing, or having things, having walls painted a specific color. Yeah. So you also see chromotherapy in that respect. And for chromotherapy, we are mostly going to be talking about the non-magical aspects of it, because they definitely tie in. So hold on to your little booties.
We'll get there. We'll
get there, man. Yeah. This took me on a trip. So the basic idea behind chromotherapy is that, like John was saying, light is energy. And light also affects matter. And ancient people started noticing that certain colors affected specific humors and even body parts. Sure. And so started experimenting with the use of color therapy. Yeah. So historically, there is the I Ching, which is not only the first book to record healing through color, but it's also the oldest medical book in existence, and dates all the way back to 2650 BC China. So that is a super long time. Most of the deities that we talk about being worshipped haven't even been around that long. I think that there's only like one or two, and off the top of my head, the most recent one that we've talked about that even attempts to go back that far is Bast in Egypt, which is a deep dive that we recently did. So if you're interested in that, check that out. But like, that's a super duper long time ago. Ancient Egyptians used temples with different colored rooms, and also coordinating panes of glass to heal through color, or to induce a mental state through color. Like they put crushed rubies basically in glass skylights in temples, and a variety of other gemstones and pigments and things like that. They actually thought that Thoth, the god of wisdom and also medicine, or one of them anyway, actually brought about the idea of color therapy. So this was actually something that was like highly revered and widely practiced, although we don't entirely understand how widely practiced, just because like there are so many things from ancient times that we have but have not been translated yet, or you know, we're missing key pieces of understanding. Like without a single rock, the Rosetta Stone, we'd have no idea what any of that stuff is talking about. Yeah. So you know, there's a lot there, but we do know that it was highly revered. It was something that was very common in temples, and we've actually talked about it a little bit too in the episodes where we touch on the Eleusinian mysteries with our deep dives of Aphrodite and also Persephone, where, you know, you're like, they're trying to elicit a certain response and then they shine a bright light at you. Mm-hmm. So that's actually something that the Greeks did a whole bunch. They kind of didn't do a whole lot. They kind of like noticed that color did stuff, but kind of didn't really care about it other than very specific applications. Like, for instance, secret cults. They would, like, shine a really bright light at you, and sometimes it would have a colored pane of glass in front of it to invoke a feeling. Usually it was just bright white because that sort of symbolization there of, like, purity and divinity. But sometimes it would be a colored light through, like, you know, a blue bowl or a red bowl, red pane of glass, that sort of thing. Moving forward into the Dark Ages in Europe, just for a time frame there, like the Dark Ages in Europe was like around...
During the Dark Ages.
Yeah, during the Dark Ages in Europe was around AD 800 to around like 13 or 1500. During this time, right next door, the Islamic Empire was having an absolute golden age. And in that time, Avicenna, or otherwise known as Ibn Sina, was a philosopher. He was also the father of modern medicine, and he was studying metaphysics as well. This guy, smart.
Doing all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he was really into stuff. And he was also very interested in the use of color to identify and treat diseases. So he was a doctor who was also looking at the metaphysical side of things and also philosophy. So he was looking at it from sort of this three-sided pyramid, or this three-sided triangle of how to treat a disease. So he actually went so far as to assign different parts of the body and different organs, different colors to treat them, and tied it into how to, like, you know, work with God to do this, and other things that were not necessarily physiological, also mental. You know, malaise was something that he thought could be treated using a combination of philosophy and color magic and also metaphysics, among other things like, well, you know, disease, like the flu and infertility and infections. He thought that those could be cured that way. Whether or not all those things were cured by that is, you know, hard to tell, because we're looking at like 1,000+ years ago of information, and also medical science was definitely not what it is today. But he was huge, and he's really sort of like the father of the idea of chromotherapy, at least as we look at it in a modern sense. But as time goes on, medical science also advances, and experts have considered the use of colors to heal physiological ailments, from everything to cancer to diabetes to sicknesses, as a sham, or quackery, as the Wikipedia article says.
Yeah, the use of color to heal physiological ailments is in general considered a bit of hoke.
Exactly.
A bit of hokum, yeah. A bit of bananas. In general, what I'm going to say on this is, if you have a medical thing, do what the doctor says.
Yeah.
I know that right now it's real hot to disagree with doctors. It's so hot right now. But you're not a fucking doctor.
Also, a reminder, we are not doctors.
Oh my God, we're
so don't take anything we're saying as medical advice. We're definitely
not doctors. You are also not a doctor, unless you are a doctor, at which point go to a bigger doctor, right? Just always seek out a larger adult.
Yeah, another
right?
adult.
So, like, do what your doctor says. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna treat you. If you want to wear a specific color to make you feel better, in addition to what the doctor says, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, why not supplement?
But as opposed to what the doctor says, real dumb moves, guys. Real dumb moves. I'm trying to be nice here, but real dumb. Listen to doctors. They're literally there to help you. And if you're concerned with what your doctor's saying, then just get a bigger doctor.
Or additional ones, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't just fire this doctor and then go to a different doctor. Just, like, be like, all right, this doctor said this. I'm going to seek advice from a larger doctor and see what this larger doctor says.
Yep.
Right? And if the larger doctor says 100% that doctor was right, well, then there you go.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. Always seek a larger adult's opinion if you're concerned. But, like, you know, you don't go, you don't go to a doctor to get a cut of steak for your barbecue. Don't take medical advice from some asshole on the internet.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? Like, come on, guys. The internet stuff has its place. Butchers have their place. Doctors have their places, and those places don't interchange, right? It's not the old days anymore. We don't have like, oh, this is the pharmacy, bar, dentist, butcher, and also we reshoe your horses. So don't worry about that. You know, we don't have that anymore. We specialize.
Although I do recognize the millennial hustle in that.
I mean, yeah, sure, but
yeah,
still.
Anyway, so
seek real medical
regardless
advice.
of the views of medicine, from time to time, some people have taken hold of the ideas of chromotherapy and attempted to learn more about the possibilities. Starting in the 1800s, there was a huge revival of chromotherapy.
Everything was hot. All magical shenanigans were hot in the 1800s. Yeah,
magical stuff, medical stuff, super, super hot. Yeah. It was also driven by other medical and scientific breakthroughs. Yeah. So some of those breakthroughs, starting in the 1800s, moving forwards in time, would be like finding out that sunlight inhibits bacteria growth. Yep. That was huge. Einstein's ideas about transforming matter into energy and energy into matter.
Definitely would have fired up a bunch of chromotherapy people.
Ooh, yeah. I read the quote about that and I was like, oh yeah, a bunch of chromotherapists. Oh yeah. It's like, it's talking about like, you know, with enough energy, matter can become energy. Just pure energy, and with enough energy can choose to become matter again. And I was like, ooh, that's good right there. Also, lots of clinical
matter
studies.
Doesn't choose. It's physics. Physics isn't about choice, it's about math, guys, but that's fine. Keep going.
So also lots of clinical studies showing that colored light affects patients' moods in clinical settings. Yeah. Also light, and specifically colored light, curing infant jaundice was big. That only happened in like the 1950s. Yeah. That's not even that far away.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the, like, if you live up in the Arctic Circle and you got them UV bulbs and you got one of them glowing purple UV rooms. Yeah. So that way you don't get seasonal affect disorder during like a month of no sunlight or what have you. Yeah. You know, so like, does wearing a pair of pink glasses help you with some sort of a medical thing? Oof, girl, no. That's not how that shit works. But like, does wearing a pair of pink glasses make you feel better, which makes it easier for you to cope with going into a place of work where maybe you want to mush your boss's face a little bit? Fucking solid gold, dog. Wear those pink glasses. Don't mush faces. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like the term medicine is maybe too broad a stroke to say yay or nay, because it's highly specific, and like how, you know, a colored room is gonna affect somebody's like mood. Yeah. Or whatever, right? Or the way that you feel about a thing, right? Everybody's got like a favorite color, and everybody wants, you know, you got people who want, like, if you're like one of these white house, white carpets, white cabinets, white, you know, like white walls kind of people. Like if you're one of these like gleaming white, like liminal space kind of people, and that's your house. You walk into like a house that's primarily like darker tones, like dark blacks and dark grays and dark greens and dark blues, then you're gonna be like not with it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Right. And just the same if you're one of those like dark house people or a lighthouse person, and you come into a house like our house, which has like a lot of like various colors and textures and stuff, you're gonna be like, ugh, like overwhelmed. There's a lot happening in here. You know, I mean, like a good example is like just go watch like an older movie, like when we watched The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is a French musical, highly recommend. But like it was like what, 60s, 70s, something like that, and it's like big, flippin' bright, like the most Technicolor bright fucking wallpapers. Yeah. And then there's like, this room's pink and this room's green and this room's blue, and like like in my mind watching that and thinking back on it, like if a modern like what do you call those, like interior decorator types, like if a modern interior decorator or something like walked into the house in Umbrellas of Cherbourg, they would be like, fucking burn this thing down.
Oh yeah, like
bro,
like Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, and
would be like, no.
And it's not like that's wrong and she's right, or she's wrong and that's right, or whatever. It's like entirely a personal like experience and decision, you know? And like I definitely know people who've like worked in like painting.
Yeah.
Right? Not like artists, but like painting a house, painting walls inside of a house, you know? And they'll have like a customer who's like, I want this accent wall like bright yellow. So they like choose a bright yellow from the swatches and they put it on the wall, and then like you know, whatever, a couple of weeks later or a month later or whatever, they're like, actually not this yellow.
Yeah.
Let's go with a slightly different yellow. This yellow I'm not vibing with. And they paint it like a slightly different yellow, and they're just like, everything's cool now, bro.
Yeah.
This is like the place where I like to do that stuff. You know, or like people who surround themselves with like plants.
Yeah.
Who want like a lot of greenery in their house, and then there are people who are just like, even flowers, they're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's entirely like a personally dependent conversation.
Yeah.
But it does show where like color as a function of set and setting play a large part in people's like comfortability and like mood regime within their like household or setting. I mean, we've definitely all probably have a memory of like a particular classroom, whether it was in like elementary school or like high school or like college or something like that, that was just like a color that like every time you walked in there you're just like, man, fuck this stupid class. Like I don't, you know, like you get some of those like industrial classrooms got that like sort of like brown, orange, mustardy sort of a color that was like on the walls or whatever the heck in a lot of those places, or something like that, and you're just like, I fucking hate this room so much.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. So like, you know, or even like look at like the way that they specifically designed the hotel in the Lookout Hotel or whatever it's called.
Oh, in The Shining.
In The Shining was like designed to like put you off.
Yeah.
And anytime like it doesn't even have to be the same pattern or necessarily the same colors, because both have intrinsic effect on the mind.
Yeah.
But like you've definitely been in a place where it's like kind of like similar like coloring and patterning going down a hallway, and you're just like, man, if I see two twins coming out here on fucking tricycles, I'm out, dog. This place, I'm out.
I don't want to see any kids in this hallway.
No kids in this hallway, not allowed. You know, so it's like that sort of a thing, right? Where like color plays such a large hand in like the sort of like background conversation of like mood and tone and setting and like emotional memories and things like that.
Yeah. Well, another thing that color kind of like like interplays with in terms of like energy and setting is actually like an aura. So the last thing that I have on the list for scientific breakthroughs is actually something that's technically not proven.
Not real science.
But it's not proven for, and it's not proven against, right? So
science adjacent.
So that's the ability to be able to take pictures of the electromagnetic energy field or aura around a body. Mm-hmm. So back during the Cold War, there was a ton of research into this sort of thing.
Every government wanted to figure out if MK could infect Ultra, my dudes.
Yeah, and actually in Russia, they pioneered this technology to be able to take pictures of what we believe is the electromagnetic energy field around a person's body, and what we also believe is an aura, and there are colors associated with it that work with basically the colors of auras. It's actually super interesting stuff, but there's not a lot of information of it available for fairly obvious reasons.
Sure, yeah.
And it's things like that you kind of...
And, of course, any scientific breakthrough made by a military-industrial complex during the Cold War needs to be taken with a grain of CIA-sized salt.
Yeah.
Where, like, mayhaps breakthrough in science, mayhaps super big lie to confuse your enemies.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe a little bit of both. Maybe it's a Venn diagram that's like more overlapping than not.
Maybe it's non-biological organisms or whatever that guy said.
Yeah, whatever that guy said. We got some non-normal biologicals going on in here. And you're just like, all right, dog, you could have just said aliens, but like that makes me real sus that what we're talking about is the same thing. You know? Totally.
So now that we've talked a bit about chromotherapy, I'm actually going to turn this a little bit to the side, and we're going to talk about theosophy.
Not a little bit. It's hard left.
It's a hard left, but you'll understand why. So we've mentioned theosophy and actually its founder, Helena Blavatsky, in many episodes. Theosophy is... during its birth and its heyday in the late 1800s to the early 1900s, there was a lot of occultism going around.
Yeah.
This is when we're talking about the big time for seances. This is the Golden Dawn. That's Aleister Crowley, birth of modern day tarot cards, and what they and just sort of like in general tying together the mysticism not just of the quote unquote East and the West, but also that of ancient times. In fact, theosophy really strongly shaped what we would consider the New Age movement or the metaphysical movement that is modern magic. You know, we've talked also about Gerald Gardner and the founding of Wicca, although like a little bit, I still definitely am going to like find a biography and do a whole episode on that.
We'll do a Wicca deep dive one of these days, yeah. Gerald Gardner deep dive standalone.
Yeah, so we talked about that, and we know that he was heavily influenced by Aleister Crowley, who was not necessarily a theosophist, but had a lot of similar things and was very prominent within these circles of like
within the occult space.
Yeah, within these occult spaces, right?
Yeah.
So theosophy had a lot of different people, but it was mainly founded by Helena Blavatsky, and her and a few others started teaching about thought forms and human auras using color as a perspective. And this eventually turned into a book called Thought Forms. You can find this book
where books are found.
You can find this book where books are found. You can actually find it online in several places for free as part of the Internet Archive and sacredtexts.org. There'll be links to it in the sources in the show notes. And full disclosure, I did not read this whole book. I just kind of skimmed through it. I did not have time to read the whole thing, and it was wild. It's the kind of thing where you want to read the paragraph like 3 times, because also they're talking in like the prose of the 1800s, which is like long sentences with really big words. Yeah. And
well, you know, you gotta listen, man. If you gotta sound so fancy, right? So because like if you're gonna be like, listen, we could just do some thought forms, guys. Let's think about some stuff, or it's got colors and such like that, right? That doesn't sound nearly as gangster as if somebody's just like theater, you know? If they're coming in here all like vows and shit, you know?
Yeah, basically. the vows. So the book Thought Forms is all about color and all about auras and all about ESP, really. So in the beginning of this book, there is a color... In the beginning of this book, there is a color grid that assigns certain colors meaning, and it kind of goes through it. But it doesn't go through like all the colors, and I don't particularly agree with some of the color meanings. But there's a lot to be said for not only individual interpretation, but interpretation of somebody who lives in a completely different time. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. You definitely, like, color meaning would have...
Like saying something's cool or something's hot nowadays, if you said that to somebody who lived in the mid-1850s, they wouldn't understand the slang vernacular associated
Honestly,
with it.
It's not even... You don't have to go that far back. I mean, like, if you just teleported somebody from, like, the early 80s to right now today, and you sat them down with a bunch of, like, high school students, that dude from the 80s would sound bonkers to them. They would just be like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
What is he saying? What is going on right now?
Yeah. But you know?
The
The color meaning grid,
I mean, do any of us know what these young kids are saying these days? Let's be real. It's just young people are talking all kind of weird sci-fi nonsense. So.
You sounding your age over here, man.
I've been old. I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, no complaint here with that at all.
So this color meaning grid, I think, for the most part, really works well, but some things are just a bit off, in my opinion. In this book, they talk about how thoughts are things, and specifically things that are tangible to those with clairvoyance. For those who do not have clairvoyance or the ability to, like, see stuff, it doesn't mean that they're not, that the thought forms aren't there. It just means that you can't see it, right? So in particular, they kind of broke this down into 3 pieces. They broke this down into the quality of thought is color. So for instance, pride is a red-orange color.
Okay.
And then they broke this down into the nature of thought. That is the form that color takes. So you got your red-orange crayon, and now what are you going to draw? Right? So pride in oneself would essentially be a red-orange image of yourself. And it's sort of sprouting out of your head.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, sure.
And then lastly, we have definiteness of thought. That is the clearness of the outline. So, for instance, more confidence, more pride in oneself would give a sharper outline of you. So if you're having a prideful moment, but like you're kind of new to this, it would be like a vague shape that's sort of shaped like you, sort of sprouting out of your head, perhaps walking down the street or whatever the situation is, like full color thoughts, right? But if you're like feeling lots of pride about yourself in this moment, now we're starting to see sharper focus. Maybe now you can start to pick out features or outlines of shapes and things like that. And you can have multiple colors in a thought, right? Because most people aren't thinking just one thing at a time, and don't have just one feeling about what it is that you're thinking. Sure. So that's how they broke that stuff down in this book. And the book includes many illustrations of different types of thought forms as well. So it talks about the colors, talks about the thought forms. Some of them are very, like, shall we say, photorealistic in the times to, like, what you would imagine. So, like, if somebody's thinking about drinking, like they're an alcoholic, they're thinking about drinking, what they're seeing, I believe, a blue colored, like, hand going to grasp a drink to then drink.
Okay.
But also, sometimes we just have, like, vague shapes with colors that are kind of like a fountain appearing out of your head, or sort of blooming into, like, a fantasy landscape. And sometimes they're just kind of like thought bubbles.
All right. So, I mean, this sounds a lot of the, like, what's that called, where, like, if you, like, think it hard enough, it becomes real.
Yeah.
Kind of a vibe that you get in sort of, like, modern witchy, occult, pagan adjacent, like, conversations.
Yeah, intention and manifestation.
Yeah, intention and manifestation.
For sure. Especially when you think about the idea of the nature of thought, or the definiteness of it, and the idea that thoughts are things. And they also do talk about auras in this too, but we're not really going to touch on auras a whole lot in this episode. We're going to do a whole deep dive into auras eventually. Yeah. That's a whole nother place.
This sounds like this thought form book sounds like sort of the second step in. So like if you learn, like, if I'm trying to teach you, like, all right, so if you think it, they will come, right? We're talking Field of Dreams style,
yes, we are.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I show you Field of Dreams, and I'm like, if you think it, they will come, you're like, all right, gangster. But, like, obviously it's difficult to kind of, like, dial in your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to kind of get distracted or what have you. So reasonably building a language that could be memorized, that has simple definitions, right? Like, okay, this color means this word. These colors mean these, like, tones or symbols or what have you, and these shapes mean this, and the clearness of this shape means this, and all this kind of stuff. It gives you something to specifically meditate on.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, if I just tell you, oh, do you want to be like more like proud of yourself? Then you just got to think of yourself as happy. You know, it's that like think of yourself as a successful person and you'll become successful. But like, how do you define success? How do you think about yourself as a successful person? What is the manner in which you do that? So if we as a group come up with a language, right, a visual language by which we are capable of expressing those thoughts, then like all you have to do is think of yourself red, orange, whatever, standing on a mountain clearly.
Yeah.
Or what have you, right? And all of a sudden you're like, all right, boom, I've got this. And if you don't have the capacity for like internal mental imagery like that, because, you know, some people can't like see things in their head or whatever, right? Then you would still have the capacity to like use language, let's say, as like a mantra, but still use this visual language to describe the situation that you could be thinking, or to draw it and have it as a visual reminder of. So when you think about it that in that respect, it's sort of like forming a language behind intention in order to allow not only the rapid interpretation of, like, we all agree this is the best way to think about this, right? And, you know, if we all accept that red, orange is pride, then everybody who thinks of pridefulness or pride in a red, orange way is going to more strongly connect pride to the color red, orange, therefore making it more effective for you as a practitioner, as well as it means that I can write it down in a book and not have to like whinge in a circle for 20 minutes to explain how like focusing on yourself clearly to be like have a better self-image is the solution. But I can just be like, oh yeah, better self-image, blue horses, and you're like, I can do blue horses all day, baby. Let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever.
Now, to be clear, this book doesn't necessarily say if you visualize this thing, it will happen. The book is really more of a observation of it. Yeah. But what you're saying absolutely makes sense as well. Well,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it has to, the language would, in my opinion, logically develop out of a sort of, you know, it's that like, why does the hanged man mean what the hanged man means, right? Whether that's because somebody was like, well, I'm gonna make up this picture, this card, these words, and this definition, or if it's like, we're gonna get a bunch of cards, and then as a group, we sort of distilled down the like 3 words that define what the hanged man is, right? You still have to have that sort of like that ingrained observer bias in order to generate the like what we now accept as like a cultural understanding of things, you know. And like, think about this as like flowers, like when we talked about flower magic, like, oh, what did you give her, yellow daisies? Well, yellow daisies is the flower of friendship, so that means that you just like totally denied her the relationship or whatever the heck, you know. But like orange roses, like that's something else, dog, right? So those are all like rules or whatever. So, you know, but obviously they come out of like observations and like cultural language and such.
Totally.
You know?
So, this book and this idea of thought forms and also theosophy in general was a huge inspiration for modern artists and helped to really break ground to allow more abstract art, surrealist art, and expressionist art to take hold. Because really prior to this time in the late Victorian age, like, art was representational. You know, if you were talking about a pretty lady, you know, if you were doing art about a pretty lady, you were literally painting what you thought of as a pretty lady, as opposed to the abstract feelings that this person may give you, or, you know, what you think they look like. So this really gave birth to what we would consider modern art. And you can kind of see a lot of traces in it. In fact, there were a lot of artists who have directly said that this book, Thought Forms, was a major inspiration to their career. So, like Rousseau and Mondrian, and also, most famously, Kandinsky. Those men were not only theosophists, but they were so inspired by this book. Yeah. And like literally there was like a list of like 10 to 15 people. If you're interested in checking it out, that is also in the sources. It's a Wikipedia article that talks about theosophy and in visual arts. Super interesting. A lot of artists that I had not heard of, or had not realized I had heard of, that is. But when I like looked at their art, I was like, oh shoot, I do recognize this art. So really interesting thought there that theosophy and the idea of color magic is basically how Kandinsky has $1 million paintings.
Yeah, sure, totally.
You know? So there's it's not so simple as combining the principles of chromotherapy and theosophy or thought forms to sort of turn into what we look at today as modern color magic.
Sure, yeah, completely. Well, you also have, like, the way that I look at this is, like, whenever you're looking at, like, the modern version of a thing, you got to take into account, like, all the historical aspects. You also have to take into account the telephone game, right? Which is which is the human the human person's inability to remember fine detail for more like 1 second, right?
Yeah.
So you know, you've got that drift, but then you also have culturally significant moments, or decisions, because like sometimes a culturally significant moment is like a big world-changing event that we all bore witness to, or heard about, or whatever. And sometimes it's that, like, if you think of radioactive ooze, you're gonna think of the color lime green. Yeah. Right? And that's just because, like, one of the dudes in the TMNT
Thanks, Ninja
decided
Turtles.
that. You know? Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that sort of thing where, like, sometimes it's like this big cultural, like a show, like a thing, and sometimes it's just like red lightsabers are the bad guy ones, so the color red's just always associated with bad guys, or like whatever. I mean, that's a terrible example because like red is always red, but like, you see what I'm saying there, right?
Yeah.
So not only do you have the telephone game like affecting the long-term memory, right, of any sort of specific, like, concept like that, but then you also have, like, well, I mean, I know that it's, like, red-orange, but, like, it's more like orange, because, like, red's bad or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just because of the, like, translation of, like, whatever, like, media people are consuming, and I imagine that sort of, like, drift in modernity and culture is only going to occur more rapidly, due in large part to the interconnectedness of like social media generations. Like those of us that are like constantly on the internet experience, in the long run, I think it'll be talked about as like we kind of experience cultural shifts as a time function significantly faster than previous generations did, simply because like you're constantly just like being hammered with this stuff, right? And you're always hearing on this news, and you're always hearing about all this, you know, you're always involved in all this like bits, so that way you kind of get to this place where like it feels like every 6 months some like big dramatic thing is occurring, but oftentimes those big dramatic things are actually something distant and not directly affecting you. Although nowadays sometimes it is. But sometimes it's not directly affecting you, but because of social media and the connections that are built through the internet, everything, like, it's made the world smaller. Yeah. Which has made all of the events bigger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. So, you know, some of the things that go into what we think of as modern color magic, aside from the cultural side of it, well, that that cultural side of it specifically, is combining ancient principles of colors that were associated with different planets and zodiac signs. That goes all the way back. So far. There's Agrippa's sympathetic magical systems to take into account. There's the principles of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. We see that symbolism most easily today in the Rider-Waite tarot cards. There's the color principles of the Kabbalah, of the chakra color systems, another episode we've got coming to you. Also, Reconstructionist practices, sort of all create today's modern color magic systems. So there's not a really easy way to say, well, this is what these colors should be, because aside from what we're looking at as like modern cultural things, we also have sort of global cultural things associated with color, like, for instance, when you go to a funeral, are you wearing all black or are you wearing white?
Yeah, right.
That depends on your
culture.
culture. When you're getting married, is it common to have a white wedding dress or to have a red wedding dress? Another cultural change.
Or just like a lot of bright colors, right? I mean, you see that a lot in like when you're seeing like some cultures. The cultural significance comes from like a lot of bright colors or bright patterning, whereas other cultures are like simplicity and potentially like a monochrome sort of a thing, depending on the event or whatever. So
and thinking about Reconstructionism, which is, to say like sort of most of modern magical practices that we're doing today are at least some form of Reconstructionism.
Yeah, have some Reconstructionism.
There's some there.
Them.
The thing is there's not like an ancient Celtic or Norse document or carving that says green means plants and red means blood. Like, we don't have that. That doesn't exist. It's most likely that people back then didn't even think about it that way, unless they were thinking about it possibly in the chromotherapy sense, or that certain deities seemed to be aligned with certain colors. So it's not easy to say, well, this is what it should be, or what should it be if I'm a X type of practitioner.
Well, and a lot of times when we're doing reconstruction, what we're doing is we're taking like a descriptor used in an ancient text, right? And we're pulling the word out of the descriptor, right? Like, oh, this big powerful guy, big guy, red of beard and hair, blah, 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 whatever. And you're like, oh, so like he's associated with the color red. Well, or he was just like a ginger dog. Maybe his favorite, right? Like, I mean, like, clearly that's what they're saying when they say that he's got like a red beard and red hair, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the color red is associated with him. It might simply be a function of them trying to describe him better. Right?
Yeah.
But if that's the closest piece of information that we have, then that's generally the way we're going to associate that with a person, regardless of the fact that sometimes even those things are sort of like muddled, lost, forgotten, or again, otherwisely like negated. The reason why I chose a red beard is a fantastic example of this is Thor and being like a portly guy with red hair and a red beard. But like when you see almost any modern visual of Thor, right, in like pop culture, he's like a buff blonde guy.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's a hero character, and so we want him to be buff and blonde because that's what we expect heroes to look like.
Yeah.
He's like buff, blonde, and white, or fucking whatever, right? But at the same time, you have things like the more recent God of War video games where they go out of their way to try and uphold like a more historically accurate depiction of Thor. So it's not that it's being erased, it's that like it's being selected for like the most marketability and profit to the business. Sometimes. Right.
Totally.
But and it's just like when you're talking about, I know more of these with regard to like Norse mythology and Celtic mythology and stuff like that. It's like the Green Man or like the Grey Wanderer, right? They often refer to Odin as the Grey Wanderer, right? Or something to that extent. So like often when you're doing when you're seeing reconstruction like energy being put into a modern practice or a modern understanding. We're kind of picking and choosing description words out of like a whole grander context in order to be like, well, this is clearly what was up with this, right? Or what have you. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. And of course, remember that, like, just because, like, for you, the color black might represent, like, something negative, for somebody else, the color black may represent something positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, just like the whole, like, white at a funeral, black at a funeral, or white wedding dress, red wedding dress. Like, I think kind of one of the disservices done to us by, like, the shrinking of the planet due to, like, the internet affecting our culture is that we often sort of lose track of those differences because we strive towards uniform normality. It is the strangest part of the human species to me, is the desire to be normal. But a lot of people strive toward that uniform normality. So when you do that, a lot of the information you're getting out of that is like, well, it's either like, well, I'm seeing all these things, I'm going to choose this one, so pick and choosing, right? Or it's the, like, you know, Chris Hemsworth is my Thor, so, like, that's my Thor. There's no problem with that being your Thor, but, like, you know, don't poo-poo on somebody being like a chubby redhead is my Thor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, that's something to kind of keep in mind whenever you think about, like, modern Reconstructionist magic, right?
Yeah.
Or you're at the bloody candle store and you're buying colorful candles.
Yeah.
Right? And the box says, like, these candles are for dark magic because they're, like, black candles. And you're like, nah, dog. You know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and actually candle magic is kind of like a big piece of it too, because we kind of don't really
colors
see
of candles so popular.
Yeah, we kind of don't really see a lot of magical like color influencing magic in the same way that we do now until, like, we really saw this sort of creep into modern witchcraft through candle magic and chakras in the 90s. It's kind of like the new agey movement. Prior to this, we're looking at like a little bit of early Wicca, and we're also looking at the idea of, like, ceremonial and other types of Reconstructionist magic. And for the most part, using colors in those type of magical systems, we're either down to, well, we're doing a thing that's based on a season, so we're going to decorate an altar with the colors of the season.
Sure.
Or we're going to be doing something at a very specific planetary hour, and we're going to use the color associated with that planet to give extra power to this spell. So we don't really have, like, you need this color candle or this color candle. And not to say that that's bad, but, you know, it may not be easy to keep a whole stock of rainbow candles in your thing. So we really start seeing this creep in through, like, the 90s Llewellyn witchcrafty stuff with candle magic, with chakras, with new age,
well, but also
with all that kind of stuff.
That sort of product becomes more reasonably available.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, when you think about this, like, okay, so candles are, like, vague generic wax color, and you can, like, put some stuff in there to make them colorful, but that's not only a lot more work, it's a lot more processing, it's a lot more expensive, anciently speaking, right? But whereas, like, nowadays, if you go to the craft store, or, like, the you know, Bathworks store of your, like, local modern choosing, right? You can go into there, you go to the candle aisle, and they got 12 shades of every single color.
Yeah.
What kind of red do you want? You want pink red? You want orange red? You want, like, a red that's like
what
a little red?
What style of
you want
candle
a bright red?
do you want?
You want a taper candle? You want a jar candle? You know, like all these things. And because of the increase in, like, available options, we start having the increased choice to add that bonus dimension to the spell. Yeah. Right? Or to the craft. And of course, if it's an option and it's available and you're being marketed towards with a business, right? And I understand that, like, practice isn't necessarily a business, but also a lot of these people are selling books. So it's kind of a business, right? So, like, if the option's available, and you see this in, like especially in some of the, like, 90s witchcrafty book stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're like, use a candle, but a blue candle would be better. You know, like that kind of thing. They do that, like, but also if, you know. And so, and that's where you start getting a lot of that, like, well, nowadays, I mean, like, nowadays, we can go to the local grocery store, right? And they have, like, a little section of candles. There must be 20 colors available.
Yeah.
A candle, and this is just like a back corner in the grocery store that's just selling, like, enough candles for, like, you got
for, like, your centerpiece.
Yeah, you got a date coming over and you need a candle, or, like, it's Thanksgiving, or what, you know, it's some sort of holiday and you need, like, candles. You're not even gonna light these bloody things. It's just so you look fancy as heck. You know, your parents are coming over to your house. You got to make this shit look fancy, because you definitely don't eat dinner on your lap in the living room, sitting on the couch. You 100% use that table.
Plates, yeah.
You know, that's currently covered in paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, everybody.
You're color coordinating your candles to your like placemats and stuff.
Exactly. Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
So, I mean, like, what we do is we try to incorporate color into our magical workings, but by no means make it a requirement.
Oh, goodness, no.
Yeah. Our candles, first of all, whatever color that they are.
Whatever color Jonathan decided to make candles out of.
Whatever color you decided to make candles out of. You know, we have some like cool LED candles that we recently got, and those ones are just plain old white.
Yeah.
So colored candles is not really something that we do, primarily because we tend to burn candles a lot, and we save the wax and reuse it, so they kind of all end up being a color, and we make them in batches. So, like, could we make different color candles so that we have a bunch of greens and reds and whatever?
Well, and we have for, like, specific tasks.
Yeah.
You know, when it's like, we're going to make, like, a bunch of blue candles or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, most of the candles we burn are, like, beeswax candles.
But that's not the norm for
yellow.
us. That's actually the exception.
Oh, totally.
You know, we just kind of, like, I'm looking at the candles we have right now. We have, like, white and green and just, like, plain beeswax. We have some that are red and white.
Yeah.
And some that are, like, 4 colors on them.
We've got all green one in the bathroom.
Like, so we generally don't do colored candle magic because it's just more work for us, or more money, and you know, we're not made of that. So but I try to incorporate color into magic in other ways. So usually I do this when it comes to things that are like jar candles, or you know, like little spell jars, stuff like that, as spell sachet. I'll try to find something that's colored. Sometimes that'll be like a stone, like maybe I'm trying to use blue and I happen to have some lapis chips, and lapis also works for it, so then that's doing double duty. And one of my favorite things to put into jar candles is, of course, glitter. And it comes in all colors.
Totally.
And it makes it look super pretty. I tend to use glitter or seed beads. We have a ton of seed beads.
Who doesn't?
So I'll put that sort of thing in there. Just like something to give it just like a little bit of extra oomph. In something. I don't generally color coordinate an outfit for a spell or anything like that. No. I kind of leave it in this like way where it's like, can I add this extra piece that is also this thing? Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
And if I can't, then I don't do it.
I don't really do anything with color magic insofar as I'm trying to like achieve a bonus effect with color or anything like that. I mean, I generally tend to surround myself with the colors that I like, right?
Yeah.
Like, my favorite color is purple, so, like, I always have, like, a bunch of purple stuff around.
Yeah.
And I really like the color green because I'm, like, a crazy plant person. So, like, I have a lot of green stuff around, and, like, my 3 main colors, and this will be obvious if you're on our Patreon and look at our Book of Shadows pages, are purple, teal, and pink.
Yeah.
So I try and include purple, teal, and pink in everything when I'm, like, tie-dyeing stuff for, like, clothes,
Yeah.
or I'm, like, making a new sarong for myself, or anything like that. So, like, everything sort of falls into those color categories, but I didn't choose those colors because meanings. They're just the colors that I like.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, like, I don't really care about that. Like, what the color means, that's sort of unimportant to me. It's more about, like, what colors I like and I want to, like, surround myself with. The exception to that is, and this is a very uncommon exception, but, like, if we're doing a very specific thing, right, then, like, maybe we'll do, like, oh, we're doing a thing, you know, it'd be like, we, like, whatever, we want, like, a bunch of blue candles. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, like, I'll get the stuff out, I'll get out my pigments, and I'll, like, dye a batch of wax blue and pour a bunch of blue candles. Or, like, something to that extent.
Yeah.
At which point, like, I'll do, like, the color research and I'll, like, use that color. Or, like, if we're doing something for a specific, like, deity or a specific Sabbath or blot that has, like, a color significance to it, then we'll, like, do something for that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, my default answer is, oh, would this benefit from color? If so, why is the answer going to always be purple? Because I said so. That's why. Go with purple.
That's
shit's royal.
So accurate.
So that's just what I do. Is
Yeah.
everything's like purple, vaguely always purple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really do like. It's not like I'm like color magic's bullshit or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just like it's not like I would rather surround myself with the colors that I want.
Yeah.
Than not. Insofar as if I need to, I will use the colors that I want as, like, the jumping off point to express a realization of what that meaning is. Right? Which is totally working backwards, but I don't care. I want it to be purple, and I said so I'm gonna do it. Right? So, like, that's my thing with
now,
color magic, is that I kind of go back asswards, because I'm like, I want it to be purple, so what could this purple mean?
Yeah, so all of that said, we did recently, full disclosure, buy, like, colored glasses. Like, each of us
I primarily bought them because I watched an
out.
anime where a guy had colored glasses in it, and I was like, I could look a little bit like that guy.
And I was like, that's a good enough excuse,
I was like,
because
I could look a little bit like that guy,
glasses.
so I'm gonna do that. So I had to buy, I wanted literally one pair of colored glasses, but you can't buy one pair of colored glasses, because, I don't know, whatever, capitalism's weird, dude, and, like, consumption is, like, a bonkers thing.
Yeah, it is.
So I had to buy, like, a whole multi-pack, and, so I primarily only used 2 of the pairs, right? The pair that I'm currently wearing, which are the purple ones, which are not the ones that I wear the most often, even though purple is my favorite color. The ones I wear the most often are actually pink.
Yeah.
The purple glasses I wear more often are a pair of sunglasses that I'm deeply, deeply in love with.
Yeah, yeah. And I am currently wearing orange ones. I wanted them to experiment with color therapy and chakra work. And orange is a color of, like, creativity and inspiration associated with the sacral chakra, also happiness, and most importantly, it matches the outfit that I'm wearing right now. So there's some little detail with, like, little orange sequin flowers, and there's also purple sequin flowers, but I couldn't just wear purple glasses like him because he's wearing purple glasses.
Yeah. Can't match.
So yeah, so we did get those, so we are going to be experimenting with that, and I'm pretty stoked about that. Might bejewel these glasses up.
Yeah.
Because
decorate them up,
why not?
Make them fun.
Yeah. So
I kind of want to get those, like, old person loops.
Oh, I really want, like,
dude, I want those, like, sweet. I want to, like, make them, you know, because we got all the, like, all kind of, like, fancy
tons of beads,
yeah. You know, so I want to make those, like, cool beaded, like, what's called glasses holdy thingies.
Yeah, we just need, like, the little rubber doodads.
Yeah. So that'll happen at some point in time.
Would you wear something like that?
Yeah.
Tell us below. We're curious.
I mean, I don't really take them off, so I don't need to, like, put them down and then up again. But
it's like a cool fashion statement.
It is. It's so cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm super here for it.
Well, I say that now. I haven't worn one, so, like, I don't know if it's going to get, like, caught in my earrings and then immediately not be okay with.
Oh, they might.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hashtag entering our granny era.
Yep.
So, it's time for spells.
Okay.
We got 2 spells associated with color magic. So, the first spell is Colored Intentions. And for this, you'll need something to visually observe your desired color. So this can be wearing colored glasses. This can be like literally a colored sheet of paper. It can be an image on...
Looking at you, construction paper from the kids' pile.
Yeah, right?
What's up, dude?
Or
always the worst
like a
paper,
picture. It's the awful. I like the way that it feels, though.
No, man. No, not
I like
at
the
all.
feeling of cutting into construction paper, like kids'
man.
construction paper. It's so nice, so satisfying. It could be fabric, it could be anything, just as long as it's the color that you're going for.
It
And
could just be like a color on your screen.
Yeah.
Like not even a background, just like search for a color in like your search program. And be like, all right, zoom in, take up the whole screen, glowing blue or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So choose the color and your desired manifestation for that color from the correspondence list, which we're going to talk about after these spells. And so, like, for instance, if you want to be more confident, choose a shade of yellow that you particularly like. And, I mean, I guess you could get really granular on, like, the meanings of colors and stuff, but I'm not going to do that. Not everybody's favorite color is yellow, so just pick a yellow that you vibe with.
Yeah, totally.
You know? So you've got this color, gaze at this color, clear your mind, focus on the colored item, and then repeat your intention over and over again using I am statements. So again, when we are manifesting, it's never I will or I want, it's always I am. So for this yellow color, you would just say over and over again, I am confident. If you want to make it more than that, go ahead. But if you want to just say I am confident, that's fine too.
Yeah.
It's as simple as you want it to be.
You got to think about it like one of those, what is that, like 80s supervillain layer? You know, whenever you walk in those layers and there's always like some stuff flashing on a screen and it's like, I am powerful. I am confident. You know, like that was like real hot in those like late 80s, early 90s, like villain layers.
Yeah.
Right?
So next.
Mugatu stuff, whatever his name is. Like he had those, I think, also.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about Riddler.
Yeah, Riddler.
From the Batman movies.
Exactly.
So you're cleared your mind. You're focused on your thing. You're repeating your intention. Now visualize or think about you moving through your life with that desired manifestation. Remember we talked about in thought forms, the definiteness of it really clears that shape. So give this definiteness. Draw outlines around yourself. Maybe if you're in this confidence spell, you see yourself talking in front of strangers or standing up to your boss or sitting up straight or, you know, whatever the thing is that makes you feel more confident. Imagine those scenarios playing out in your head over and over and over again.
Think about it like what is it? Is it Spike Lee movies? The ones where they do the like pause and like the screen goes monochrome, and then then the person, and then it's like da-da-da, and it's got like the person's name or whatever. Yeah. So like you got to go talk to your boss, walk into the office, da-da-da, like yellow
That's
wall
also
behind
Guy
you.
Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie does the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Like yellow wall behind you, like. Let me tell you how I deserve a raise and to not be treated like shit.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. So, like, kind of do that. Cause find the tricks that make it easier for you to sort of, like, step into that, like, thought form the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more specific, obviously, the better.
Exactly, yes. But don't be so specific that you're kind of biting yourself in the butt on that one, you know?
You don't need to go full X-Men mind powers. You don't need to be like...
I'm going to be confident in just this one thing. Like, just blanket statement it, make it easier on yourself.
Yeah.
So continue this process for a few minutes or until you feel you're done. At a certain... You may be like, how do I know? And you're just going to be like... kind of unable to bring your attention back to that moment, or you're just kind of like feeling like I'm done now.
Yeah.
You know, just work on that intuition of creating your own magic. And then when you feel like you're done, close your eyes, clear your mind again, and once you're ready, open your eyes and go about your day. Repeat this spell as needed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely. Just, use it as like a little, use it as sort of almost like a micro meditation, right? Once you set it up to go, right, is the rump peel. Once you set it, then you can forget it, and then just come back and reset it the next time.
Yeah.
You want to make a rotisserie chicken or whatever the hell he was selling.
I think it was rotisserie chickens.
It was probably rotisserie chickens or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so spell number 2 is an enchantment spell. So this time we're going to enchant some paint chips. Y'all, do you know what paint chips are?
I mean, I know what you think paint chips are. So, yes, because I can see the screen.
That's true.
But a paint chip is just a chip of paint, my friend.
Well, I mean, technically they're called paint chips. Those paint chips or swatches are those,
they're called swatches. Go to Home Depot. They're swatches.
Yeah, I mean...
Or Lowe's. I don't know. Wherever
go to your local hardware store.
Sherwin-Williams.
So for this spell... I don't know. For this spell, you'll need some paint chips or swatches in each of the colors on the correspondence list and a writing instrument. Yeah. So visit your local hardware store and pick up a paint chip or like a paint swatch in each of these colors. Aqua or teal, black, blue, brown, gray, green, orange, pink, purple, red, white, and yellow. So
all colors.
All the colors. Yeah. Choose the color swatch.
Or just buy that pack of construction paper.
You could do that too. But this is specifically about the paint chips, so don't do that. But if you really want to or need to, go ahead, do that too.
You probably print them out too.
Probably. So choose the color swatch that you like most. There are a ton of different shades of each of these colors, and just pick the one that you like the most. Don't go for the Crayola color unless that's your vibe, right? Yeah. So when you go home, write the correspondences on each the meanings for the correspondences on each colored block of the chip. We'll get to those in a few moments. Feel free to group correspondences together if you like. Like for instance, blue stands for power and authority. You could write those on the same color block. Or you can write them on separate ones, because maybe to you they mean something different. That's fine too. And if you wish, you can also cut out each individual little color block. So you have a tiny little whole bunch of little color blocks. Yeah, or you can leave them all together, however you want that to be. Enchant the paint chips to work towards their corresponding manifestation is next. And you do that by clearing your mind, getting yourself in the vibe, hold your hand over all of the paint chips, and feel the power flow through your hands, lighting up the colors in the paint swatches. Now say 3 times, in vibrant colors, purpose takes flight, enchanting swatches with magic's pure light. Through whispered spells, hues begin to transform, desires manifest as my intentions perform. When you're done, collect your colors, put them in a safe place, and take a paint chip or an individual or the color swatch, however you want to do that, out whenever you have need for that magical intention for spells or meditation as a talisman or however you see fit.
Yeah.
So basically it's a tiny little intention manifestation tool that you can pick up and take with you or use however you like.
You need confidence, grab a yellow one, slide it in your wallet, rock and roll.
You're doing a spell, it says you need something green, grab your little green.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if it's for prosperity, grab the little one that you wrote prosperity on. And replace the color swatches as needed or enchant them as needed.
Yeah.
But that one is a super fun one. I totally hit the wrong button on the mouse. Whoop, whoop. Okay.
That's terrible.
That was bad. Okay, so that being said, it's time for correspondences. So it is time for the reading of lists.
Yeah, it's list 30, guys. It's list 30.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with aqua or teal. This color is associated with peace, self-reflection, spiritual power, creativity, calming, grounding, and stress relief and clarity. Black is associated with grounding and power, authority, death, mystery, protection, divination, releasing, hexing, and spirits. Blue is communication, wisdom, authority, intuition, safety, focus, spirituality, water, knowledge, peace. Brown or copper is stability, mastery, concentration, fertility, growth, grounding, earth. It's also associated with the Fae. Gray or silver is intuition, dreams, the moon, feminine energy, balance, knowledge, wisdom, meditation. Green is associated with abundance, healing, fortune, prosperity, luck, growth. It's also an earthy color and a money color. Orange is associated with community, energy, abundance, creativity, stimulation, success. It's a fiery color. It's also associated with business and joy. Two things that you wouldn't necessarily think are gonna go together. Next is pink. That's love, romance, healing, self-improvement. It's a feminine color. So harmony also. Purple is power, spirituality, enlightenment, psychic abilities, intuition, and independence. Red is passion, fertility, fire, strength, assertiveness, manifestation, and blood. White is for cleansing, purity, peace, calm, possibility, healing, happiness, air, balance, and consecration. And lastly is yellow or gold. Confidence, joy, optimism, inspiration, new beginnings, solar magic, masculine energy, and air. Woo!
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Faded out in the middle there. It's okay, though. I got this written down. And if you would like it written down, fantastic transition. You're welcome. If you would like it written down, you can find those on our Book of Shadows pages, which are available on our Patreon.
Yep.
So, quick shout out to our patrons from our Patreon. That's Alan Miranda, Helena, Alexa, Somewhere, and Brianna. So, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. So you can join them. You got the Book of Shadows pages. We have a Discord where we talk about all sort of fun witchy stuff, and have fun discussions and like hang out and stuff like that. So that's where you're gonna find that complete list, as well as like what the spells are written down, and I do like a whole graphical page thing,
and also some of the basic
episode.
Ideas behind the episode.
Yeah,
all of that kind of recapped in a beautiful 2-page. Front and back.
Front and back.
1 page front and back document.
Yeah, it's 1 page front and back.
Yeah.
I do know 2 pages.
I was like 2 pages, but they're both on the back. I don't know. We're not gonna. Yeah.
That's fine. I designed them.
I just read a whole bunch of things in a list, and my brain's a little.
Yeah, you got to read less stuff.
Fried.
Yeah. Every color gets one thing. That's all you get. No more.
I mean, you could break it down to just one thing if you like. Yeah. So, you know.
I'm a 3 things. If a list got more than 3, yeah, I'm only going to read like 3 of them. I'm just going to quit. It's not worth it, man. It's too much. It's too much energy.
I feel like one of these times I should have you read the correspondences and like not highlight any of it, so you can just be like, ah.
Oh, I'm just going to select 3 things and then immediately move to the next subject. Yeah. Yeah, you want more, you got to pay. Like that. Except it's not. That's not the reason why. It's primarily just because I ain't reading that much. I read more than enough on my own. I don't need more reading things. I don't need homework. I'm an adult. Who'd have thunk it? But there you go, right? So, yeah. Those will be available on the Patreon. Shout out to our patrons. You guys are awesome. And as for the sources and all that stuff that we talked about earlier, that'll all be linked in the description below if you are watching this on YouTube or in wherever the description is on the service that you're using to listen to this on your podcast network, or you can go to nerdjive.com. All of the podcasts are actually hosted there, which also has the complete descriptions there. So you can find the complete description there, as well as like all of the links to all of our socials. So you can hit us up on social if you have any questions or comments or anything like that. That's where you do that. Hit us up on social, and you can also, in the YouTube video, comment below and let us know what you thought about this. If you have any questions, if you disagree with anything, how do you use color in your practice, or do you use color in your practice? So, like, what's that about? Let us know that down below. Subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast if you're listening to us on the podcast network, and leave us a review so we know that you listen, because that's literally the only way. I don't know how anybody else does podcast metrics. It seems like kind of make-believe to me, but what do I know, right?
Just a little bit, yeah.
So, yeah, that is color magic. So, yeah, either way, I have been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. And we will catch you guys next time with more podcasty goodness. So, stay magical out there, folks.
Yeah, and don't forget, breathe in self-confidence and breathe out self-doubt.